What's up, everybody? I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Just wanted to give a quick disclaimer for this podcast that you're about to watch or listen to. This podcast was shot back in July, and it's our first ever video podcast that we tried to do. And I thought the content was phenomenal and it was amazing, but we just ran into so many technical difficulties that it took a really long time to edit and make sure it was right. And eventually we realized, you know what? The simpler method is the better method. So you'll be seeing this, if you're watching this on a computer, a phone, a TV, whatever the case is, you'll see your screen blank out here or there with the video and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with your device. It's just us on our side. Stuff's just messing up. And if you're listening on audio, you'll hear our technical difficulties of us getting up and hitting record and shuffling around and all that kind of stuff. So we're sorry ahead of time for all the problems, but otherwise, we hope you enjoy. One.
Here we go.
Hey, RJ.
What's going on?
What are you doing here? Oh my God, I'm so excited to have you on this show today, man.
Dude, thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming through like this. So for all you out there listening, watching, whatever the case might be, this is like our first ever video testing of What Are You Doing Here podcast. If you're watching this, you know, we're all over the place. And RJ was so graciously kind to help us out with everything, to set everything up and offer his expertise. And I especially wanted to have, it's crazy that you're here, dude. You know why? Because you've been in New York for so long that we've gone like months without seeing each other. I'm saying like almost a year at points without seeing each other. We'll see each other in like
the holidays.
Yeah, like
that's it, really.
Thanksgiving,
right?
Maybe Christmas, like
yeah.
If we're not like
Christmas
always
like
doing something,
miss, right?
Right. Christmas is always hit or miss. Like either we're not there, you know, or you guys aren't there, or something like that, you know. But now you're back.
Yes.
For a little bit of time.
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely for now, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? These are crazy times, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all happens so fast. So it feels like it's been a long time, but everything also is like time has passed by so quickly.
Yeah.
These past 6 months that
right.
we've been doing this, right? But it's nice to be back home.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, after thinking that I would never be home for this kind of stretch,
right?
Or at least living in like my mom's house,
right?
I'd never thought that I'd be living there for this long. But here we are.
Here you are.
And it allows us to do stuff like this.
Dude, this is awesome. So when I was originally conceptualizing in my mind this podcast, right, when me and Ayesha were talking about this, which, by the way, Ayesha's not here, guys, because Ayesha is just unavailable, unfortunately. But when I was conceptualizing this, we were like, okay, we want guests on this show, right? We want to have our friends and family and stuff like that. And you were like the first person I thought of. But
I'm honored.
Right, but also, like, it's bad of me to say, but you were the first person I thought of for the clout, period, right? Because the biggest part, the biggest grab to you is I wanted you to explain what you do, who you are. So you are, or you were, a producer on ESPN.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I don't hear of Desi people or Indian people or anybody in that sort of position, especially for ESPN.
Right.
I've heard of it for NBC, CBS, stuff like that, and for shows like comedy shows mainly, right? Mm-hmm. But like, dude, how did that happen? Let's start from your beginning. I know, as a kid, you were majorly into sports.
Yeah, always.
But
right? Always a fan.
Yeah.
More than anything, and that for the longest time, even partially into college, that's all it was. It was just like I was a huge Cubs fan, a huge Bulls, Bears, like Chicago sports besides the White Sox,
right.
And just a fan. But you know, like I've always enjoyed the sort of, I don't know, analytical side and like.
So like the sports talk stuff? Whatnot?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've always just liked talking about it. And for me, growing up, like, I wasn't the most socially aware and, like, able to just hold conversations. So sports was always my go-to, like, topic, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, it might not seem like it now. Because now I can
No,
not
by any means. But, like, I grew up with you.
Yeah.
We're 6 years apart?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I think we should explain how we're related, right? Because
Sure.
like, okay, so my dad's older brother's wife's sister's daughter's son.
Yeah.
So technically, me and your mom are cousins.
Yes.
But by
not by blood though.
no, not by blood, but it is by marriage. But
Yeah.
like me and your mom are cousins. That's what it is. But then like
Right.
and you're supposed to. I'm technically your uncle, like through that regard. But like because of this like close gap of age, I've never considered anybody my niece or nephew.
Right.
Like maybe your younger brother, I might.
Yeah, because he's 10 years younger.
Right. But even then, I don't want him calling me uncle. I don't want him treating me like an uncle. I want him treating me like, yo, that's my homie, right? That's like if I need something, I got him. You know, like that.
Well,
kind
and
of
you,
stuff.
I think you identify more with like this generation than because you're somewhere in between. Right?
I am. Yeah.
So you identify more with our generation, like me and my cousins,
Right.
versus my parents' generation, which
is like your mother is. You know, she's a mother, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I like there's nothing that like there's a significant gap between me and her.
Right.
You know, so like me and my brother relate to you guys,
Right?
Because we grew up with you guys, you know?
And we're cooler.
Right, exactly, right? Like you're just cooler. You're
Yeah.
better than your parents to a certain degree, right? You just you relate better.
They'd say the same thing in the opposite direction.
No, of course, right?
But,
yeah, they're gonna be like, well.
But over here, we
a
know
little better than
how
you.
it is.
Sit down, youngin. We know better than you. You know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But okay, so like we are related. What's weird, and I want to figure this out. You said when you were younger you had this affinity for sports.
Mm-hmm.
I was the exact opposite, dude. I could talk about everything but sports.
Yeah.
I still cannot talk about sports to this day. I just like it's not maybe because it didn't get inserted into my mind and like ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't live in a sports household.
Right.
Maybe cricket, but like growing up, you don't get cricket, right? America's not big on cricket. So, soccer, maybe?
Yeah, but even then, that's not like commercially a very popular sport. It's growing in this country, but even right now, it's not that big.
Americans got to do better. Americans just got to do better in that regard.
They're just not as good at soccer as other countries are. So that's why it's lagging. That's one of the reasons why it's lagging behind in this country because
it's a stupid sport anyway. Like America loses a game and they just walk away like sore losers. Like it's a fucking dumbass game anyway.
Yeah, well, it's all about like football, here,
right?
And like basketball culturally, I think is the most impactful and significant. Baseball,
we like dominate that shit. Basketball, we dominate, but then baseball is so spread out throughout the world now. Like I hear about these little league teams, and they're like from Japan, and they're just monsters at this game.
True, but all the difference between those two sports is like soccer and baseball. Like all the best talent in baseball and all the best talent in basketball come here to play professionally.
Right.
If you want to play professionally in soccer, you got to go somewhere else because our professional soccer league here is not that good. I mean. Right. They are great soccer players, but they're not on the levels of.
But you're not going to be like you're not going to be like yo. My goal is to be a professional soccer player in America.
Right. Maybe when you're like 40 and you're washed up from Europe and then you come here, that's what they do.
Right.
But
right.
When you want to, be a pro, you go to Premier League. You're going to Spain.
Exactly.
Like you're going to Germany. You're going to Italy. Like that's where you go to play soccer.
Right. Exactly.
Here,
even Mexico.
Mexico,
probably even Mexico at that point.
Mexico, a lot of
they got a
great
great
Africa.
team. Yeah,
like, there's great soccer all around the world.
Right.
Seemingly everywhere. Besides, it's good soccer here, but it's not great soccer.
Right.
That's right. But anyway, yeah. Like I think for me, it was always not only did I watch sports because like my dad more than my mom really like. He was a big sports fan, so that got passed on to me.
Yeah.
So I watched sports and then I played sports. So it was just like what I was surrounded with constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I wasn't at school, I was either practicing baseball or basketball, or I was watching it on TV.
Sure.
And that was the scope of my like
wow
knowledge and what I could talk about. So I was a very awkward little kid, if you remember.
No, I don't.
All right, well, good.
I genuinely like maybe because our interactions were a little bit more friendly, family oriented.
Yeah,
you were like, well, Avi doesn't expect me to do anything special. Like I genuinely liked hanging out with you because you weren't always like trying to stuff my brain with sports knowledge, right?
Yeah, I don't think I am with anybody now. I think obviously and fast forwarding a little bit, like working at ESPN, you just by nature are talking about sports all day.
Yeah.
And that when you're working with it all day, it gets old, man.
Right.
Because it's like I just spent 10 hours breaking down video of this thing I don't really even care about. I'm not gonna go home and watch more sports. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
And what people may or may not know about ESPN is there are TV screens everywhere in most of the offices that I've been to. Just You're surrounded by screens, and all of those screens there's like 8 different ESPN networks.
Yeah,
they're plastered on there, so you're literally surrounded by sports all day. And then if you go to Bristol, which is ESPN headquarters in Connecticut, it's like a college campus dedicated to sports because it's a big establishment. It's like really the only thing in Bristol.
Right.
So you're like surrounded by it. So for me personally, when I was working with it all day, I'm not gonna like come home and beat it to death because And I think an important thing for people who work in sports to recognize is that a majority of the population doesn't care about sports, right? Like there's so many more people who don't watch sports than who do.
Really?
I think so.
I never figured that. I always figured, well, okay, in this regard...
Maybe it's because I live in New York. People in New York don't care about sports, generally.
Really?
Yeah,
I would never have figured that.
The new, like, I don't want to say gentrifiers, but like the the newer people
I get
who
you.
live in New York, like they're like the traditional...
Goddamn hipsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking hipsters moving in with their craft beers and their beards.
Yeah, and they don't care about sports, but like they're like diehard Yankees fans and diehard Knicks fans and Giants.
Yeah.
Like, of course, there's that. But
I just figured it's like everybody's a New England Patriots fan. Like no matter what you are on any spectrum of any sports, you're a Patriots fan.
Really?
In New England, right?
No, dude. It's only in Boston. They are hated everywhere else. Yeah, I mean, like Boston and like some of the surrounding states that are, I don't want to say meaningless, but like the smaller states.
You're all fucking meaningless outside of Boston. You heard it first from him.
No, like I'm not going to name any states by name, but you know what I'm talking about. New England's got they're cramming all the states in there. By proximity, if you're close to Massachusetts, you're going to root for the Patriots. But outside of that little bubble, they're probably the most hated team in sports.
Yeah.
Patriots, Yankees.
I can see that because they have this like dynasty feel to them, where they're just and that's the extent of my knowledge. Like who's won the most, and who has the most amount of drug issues, right? Like
that's the hot button stuff.
That's the hot button stuff. That's about it. Like that's because that filters into all the other shit you talk about, right? Like these guys need to be tested more often, or like what's his name? Who's quarterback for Patriots?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's
not
inflating,
anymore, but
right? Okay, so like Tom Brady's inflating balls. Like what the hell is going on? Like Gronk is throwing parties he shouldn't be. Yeah. Some bullshit like that.
Well, that's the fun stuff.
I feel like you and Ayesha would be able to talk about this for like hours because we have a 2-hour podcast we recorded and 45 minutes of it is just her, Ayesha splaining. You know how mansplaining? This Ayesha splaining football to me.
Okay.
I'm just like.
That's interesting.
She loves football.
Because I'm sure if, from her perspective, going to you, somebody who knows nothing about it, that I would like to hear that conversation.
You can absolutely listen to it. We'll post clips and stuff like that here and there about it, but it was just hilarious because I like if we were recording it at the time, like on video, you'd just see my like blank stare, my eyes glazing over.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's when somebody who knows a lot about sports or thinks they know a lot about sports, both apply in the situation, is talking to somebody who doesn't care about sports, then it's a one-sided conversation that neither person gains anything from. Because for me, if I were to talk to you about sports, that would just be me flapping my gums and you, and then you'd just be like, okay, like this doesn't affect me or my day in any way at all, right? So why would I wish? I mean, maybe it's more self-awareness for me, which not to humble brag, but like I just don't. When I see that somebody's not interested, I'm like. Okay,
I'm not gonna pursue this.
But it's because I have more to my personality now than I did when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, that's all I could talk about. Because it was comfortable for me. Because nothing else was going on for me.
Yeah, I get you.
There was just sports, and then like
you're in this bubble. You're already exactly. You're in this bubble of like school and after school sports and my friends. That's it. Like that's all you get.
And growing up Indian, very limited social life too. So
absolutely
didn't have a whole lot of social things to talk about.
Right. I'm like, okay, so that's another thing. We'll get back to the ESPN thing, but like growing up Indian, did you feel as though like your parents are pretty forward thinking, forward moving, right? They were born and brought up here.
Everything
like that for the most part.
I think
right?
they were born there, but they
brought up here, right? Because I don't hear a lick of any sort of accent from your mom or your dad, right?
Yeah,
and I just like, was there ever a moment where they were like, no sports, you need to focus on school? Oh, they were all for it.
You need to focus on school,
right?
Yeah, multiple times.
Okay. So we're all living the same exact life out here.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you can't watch sports anymore. It's like when I got to high school and I wanted to play sports, they were like, no, you need to focus on getting into a good college.
Okay.
Why can't I do both at the same time?
Right.
Like, no, like if you're spending time on sports, that's time you could be spending on school. And to their credit, they did let me play for a few years.
Oh, really? You didn't do it for all 4?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, I got cut eventually, right? Because I just like didn't keep up with the training and wasn't as good as the other kids.
Oh, okay.
So when I got cut, they were like, "Okay, good. Now you have time to really focus on your studies."
And so they weren't upset about it.
No, I was upset about it. But they weren't.
Yeah. See, that's the dynamic between like traditional American families and like Indian American families, because like I've heard of like. In high school, like, oh, dude, I got cut from the football team. My dad was really upset about it, like that kind of stuff. But like, if I would have came home and been like, yeah, mom, I got cut from the soccer team because I'm not that good. Like, I tried out for soccer my sophomore year. I didn't make it. I was too fat. Like, I was the last person running is what it was, right? You just see this, like, they were like, all right, the tryouts are like 2 days and each day you got to run around this entire fucking field. And it's like, it's two soccer fields like next to each other.
Yeah.
And so, I'm the fat kid running all the way in the back, huffing and puffing. And then at one point, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm like 75% done. I'm just like, oh, fuck this shit. And I start walking with my hands, like, over here, like I'm pregnant or something like that. And so, like, I came home and I'm dead tired because I don't work out like that. And I'm like, yeah. And so when they announced, like, you didn't make the team, it was like me and like 5 other kids that didn't make the team. Otherwise, like, the other 80 made the team. I'm like, fuck, that sucks, man. Yeah. But then my mom was like, okay, so like, time to study.
Yeah,
let's get to it, So I'm just like, man, that's oh, did this stop recording? It looks like it did.
Yeah, I think we could pause, but
yeah, well, I mean, let me real quick hit the record thing again. Let's see if this like
it might be out of memory.
But no, this is a brand new card, bro. Like,
okay, yeah, seems fine.
Yeah, it seems okay. Anyways, no, so like my mom was like, all right, cool. Like, what do you want me to, like, the sports don't matter.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is, like, now fast forward a whole entire decade after the fact, my brother relies on sports to get him into college. He's like, hey, this is my extracurriculars that I've maintained while I maintained my high GPA, while I did this. And colleges looked at him and they're like, dude, come on over. Yeah. Like, we're not going to give you a sports scholarship if you're not that good. But, like, come on over. Right. We'd love that.
Because now it's an example of you managing your time and also excelling in a lot of different things at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just because the process has gotten more competitive over time, it is pushing more kids, and especially more Indian kids, to play sports. Now, like, golf and tennis are the ones that they really are staying in still.
I see that, yeah.
Because I was the only Indian kid on the baseball team all the times that I played. And then basketball, I think I was the only... I didn't even try out for basketball.
Yeah.
But I was the only... Like, I did, like, the pre-workouts, like, the pre-tryout workouts. I think I was the only Indian kid there. So, in that sense, I think I had a better grip on, like, the sports scene at our school than most other Indian kids did, because there was a ton of Indian kids that played tennis and like a few that played golf.
Yeah,
but they're making their way slowly.
Sure.
We don't have. We, meaning Indians, don't have. I think we have like a half Indian guy in hockey right now, and that might be it in terms of professional.
Oh, I thought we had like these 2 brothers or something like that in baseball.
No, you're talking about the movie $1 Million Arm, aren't you?
Wasn't that based on a real story?
Yeah, but those guys didn't make it.
Oh, no, they didn't make it?
I mean, they might be in the minor league
My life has
somewhere.
been a lie this whole time. I'm like, man, Indians are making strides. We're in the fucking MLB now.
No, I don't think they ever got to the
God
MLB.
Damn it. What are their names?
I don't know, bro. I watched that movie, like, I started when it was half an hour in. I missed the premise. I knew what was going on.
I thought that was a real thing, man.
No, it's like that story happened.
Right.
They may, either be stuck in the minor leagues or they went back to India. But I don't. They never pitched in the MLB.
Dude, I thought they pitched for the MLB.
And we can fact check this. They may have gotten an appearance somewhere.
Sure.
I don't think they ever made it to the big leagues. The minor leagues, maybe. And we can look it up. But yeah, no. Like, you would know. You would know if they were in the league right now.
Yeah, that's true. Because, like, we know, like, all the Asians in the NBA. There's, what's his name?
Jeremy Lin.
But then who's the other one? Really? Yao Ming? Yao Ming? Okay.
Well, it's because those are, like, basketball is huge in China. But the big Chinese basketball players, they experience a lot of pride from their communities, right? Like, people are proud that they're making it there. And, like, Indians would love it if there was a, like, Indian and, like, loudly Indian guys pitching in the MLB. Like, we would know.
Yeah.
But I don't think they made it.
Oh, god damn. My whole life is a fucking lie. I hate this. I hate it here.
But they got the opportunity. But then it turned into a weird, like, white savior movie in the end, because it was like this guy.
I didn't see the movie. I just
That's all. Like, the whole thing turned into, like,
this guy got him out this, like,
he, like, went to India,
poor country and all that. Oh my god, the like white savior thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine,
dude. Okay,
but we're used to that. But
like we're there.
It was a little sad to see their whole story told in this movie, and I was like, okay, that was just another white savior movie.
Sure, I get you. Damn. All right, so now let's go back to the ESPN part, right? So now, you originally were not like a media anything major or anything like that, right? Like, when you went to college, you went for computer science.
Computer science.
Okay, computer science. All right, so, honestly, like, personally, thank you for not being a computer science major. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now in this position.
No, you wouldn't. Like, maybe a couple more podcasts in you would be, and it'd be really shitty setup right now. Like, I'd have, like, one camera, and that's about it, and it'd be, like, my old Galaxy S8 or something like that.
Right.
But, like, so talk to me about that transition. How did that go? So you started as this and went to something else?
Yeah. So, when I was applying to colleges my senior year of high school, I was in my high school's television program, and specifically I was like the sports guy on our TV news station, and that was always fun for me. But the reason I joined that class in the first place was mostly as like an elective to get elective credit, and then you could graduate if you.
That was just for fun.
Yeah, it was like a graduation requirement. It wasn't like I'm gonna go into journalism, so let me do this. It was just,
okay.
And it's weirdly enough, I did it, and it was recommended to me because my sister Ashika was in it already.
Yeah.
So she was like, you need an elective. This is fun. Why don't you do this?
Right.
Like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And then I just grew to like it so much that, and enough to the point where that my senior year, when I was applying to schools, I applied to a bunch of journalism programs.
Okay.
Right. So I like had an idea that like this is something that I could do.
Right.
But then I also had all these like backup options of like, okay, I'm also going to apply to the computer science school or like the major or whatever.
Okay.
And my parents and like my whole family really they were pushing me to do that because they were like, that's a more lucrative career. That's where all the money is, and like whatever.
That is where all the money will be, RJ.
Yeah.
Do it.
And
make the family proud.
Hindsight 2020, I don't regret what I did at all, which I'll get to in a moment.
Right.
But there is a lot of money in CS, and they weren't lying about it.
No, dude, okay, so I know this, I went to high school with this kid who was Indian, and not very, like, whitewashed, I want to say, that's not the word, but, like, he had no, like, Indian roots, right? Like, he was a bodybuilder and everything like that. I mean, if he listens to this, that'd be dope. But,
that one good?
That one is on low battery, is what it said. So it stopped recording. I don't know why I keep stop recording.
You want me to pause this?
No, it's not a big deal. We'll just keep going. We'll put everything in the wide angle. Just hit the record button on that again.
Yeah.
Because that's saying low battery, but I don't know if that means like, I don't know, something else. We'll edit it through. There's always gonna be technical difficulties, right?
Yeah, that's how it goes.
But anyway, so like this kid, basically, long story short, he went into the IT field into college, right? And because he's so well spoken, he has not like a lick of any sort of accent or any. He's very well put together. Dude's banking like $600,000-700,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like driving exotic cars. He's got a hot wife. The whole lifestyle, all that kind of shit. So I'm like, dude, I want your life. Like, how the fuck do I get to your status? You know, like that kind of shit. But I just never personally saw myself as like, it might be like a mental thing. I don't want to be that stereotypical IT guy, but I know I wouldn't
That's
be.
Fair. Yeah, no, you wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be, right? Like I know I wouldn't be. I'm very much trained in ESL to make sure I don't have a lick of like accent or I'm slurring my words or there's some sort of lisp, whatever the case is. But like, I could never at the end of the day picture myself doing that.
Yeah, and I tried to for a year.
Yeah.
Right. So like long story short, went to the University of Illinois first for computer science, which I think in the long run was a good thing because I like learned a lot and grew a lot that year. I mean, freshman year of college, it's like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did it, and I was there doing taking the computer science classes, and I was surrounded with computer science people, and it just didn't feel like me. Like I was so bored.
How many other Indians were there in the class with you?
So many.
Oh, so you weren't like.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't
not
just
a
like
trailblazer in that.
Right. No, I understand that, but like, okay, so you went to Champaign for this.
Yeah.
And Champagne's difficult to get into. It's not like
snap
your finger in.
Yeah, that program was hard to get into.
The program itself was hard to get into, right?
Yeah.
So like, you weren't the only one.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It was a big class because it's a popular major there, right?
Sure,
it's like CS at Illinois. That's like, I don't even remember the founder of like Netscape and not Napster because that's the guy that Justin Timberlake played in the Social Network. Forget it. There's a bunch of big companies that like started at CS at Illinois. Right?
Oh, okay,
There's a bunch there are more. Reddit maybe, I don't know, like some
Sure.
of these big tech companies.
Sure, I get you.
So that's the type of crowd and the type of people that go there. They're like they have aspirations in the CS field, and there are some that are really, really into it and really, really good at it, and there are some like me who are just doing it because their parents said it would be a good idea.
Right.
And then it was a good year looking back on it, but during it wasn't a good year because I just was miserable.
Sure.
And I was doing all of these things and trying to be this person that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And like creatively I was bored, and just the classes I was taking, I like could have done well in them if I put in the effort, but there was something blocking me from putting in the effort because I was just like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Excuse me. And then maybe halfway through the year, maybe a little bit more than halfway through the year, I just realized that maybe I should do this journalism thing that I was thinking about doing in high school anyway.
Sure.
And my TV teacher from high school was one of the really influential people in that decision because he was like, you were really good at that, and then you just kind of gave it up.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, I thought you were going to pursue that. And I was like, that's fair.
Right.
I can't tell you why. I mean, I guess I can tell you why. It's because, the powers that be overruled what you
Right,
thought.
yeah. Like, what do you want me to say, bro?
Yeah. But I decided to make the switch. Excuse me, I just choked on my spit.
No, it's all good.
Let me start that sentence over. I decided to make the switch, and then to give my parents credit.
Yeah.
And they both had different views on this. I mean, I applied to transfer to DePaul, and then I got in and got into the journalism program. And the reason I was so interested in that school is because I saw that they had a good radio station.
Sure.
All these things.
Yeah.
There was like a little bit of pushback from my parents. My God. And I say that more generally because they both had different reactions to it.
Yeah.
I think my mom was more like, yeah, you're just sad over there all the time.
Yeah,
do something
exactly.
that you want to do.
Right.
And my dad was more like, but all this money that you're giving up, you know what I mean?
Right,
like, you
yeah,
could.
yeah.
And to his credit, my friends close friends that I had freshman year that were CS majors with me, they're all working at companies like Airbnb, Uber, big tech companies.
So they're like balling out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
They make more money than they know what to do with.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just for like a single person.
Yeah.
Granted, they're in San Francisco, so it's an expensive city, but
right. If they were to do that job anywhere else, though, they'd be killing it.
And they still are. I mean, they're making for their first job out of college. Like they're making, they're in their internships. They made as much as I'm making in my first job.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, yeah.
So, my parents and everybody in my family who was talking about that stuff, they were right.
Yeah. It's
just that it wasn't fulfilling for me.
I get you.
So I made that switch, and it was sports from the beginning. It was always because I did that in high school. I was the sports guy on the TV station, and then they had a specific sports radio station at DePaul.
Right.
Because there was the radio station, which was like music and entertainment, whatever, and then there was a sports specific one, like sports talk. And I was like, that's where I'm going to be. So the first day on campus at DePaul, I applied to that, and then. You have to interview and get in, but it's not that hard to get in. It's just the radio station.
Sure,
they need people to staff it, so I was there. And it just worked out. I mean, I did sports. I got, I think, good at it. I mean, obviously something worked.
Right, yeah.
And I just had a lot of fun. It was fun, right? And the Cubs won the World Series while I was there.
Oh,
right?
so it was just a field day at that point.
Dude, it was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Right.
Because we were in the city of Chicago and DePaul, which is blocks from Wrigley Field.
Sure.
Where the Cubs were making this historic playoff run. And every day there's a game, every day, whatever, something's always going on in sports in Chicago. It's a big sports city, and that's also one of the reasons I wanted to go to DePaul. But every day there was something happening, and every day I'd be the guy on the mic.
Yeah.
Granted, it's this radio station that nobody listens to, but the people that cared about me and what I was doing were listening to it, and they were like, you look like you're having way more fun doing this than what you were doing last year.
Okay, so you said nobody's listening to it. How do you guys count that in a radio?
There was never a formal, because it was Radio DePaul is like an online radio station. It's streaming 24/7.
So it's not okay. So it's not the traditional car radio, FM, AM.
There's not like an AM station.
Okay.
It's
I mean, so you just call it radio, okay, I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
It's all the production and all of the technical side of it. It's produced like it's going on to AM radio, but it just goes on because that's the new thing, right? Digital.
Sure.
So it just goes on to this streaming website.
Yeah.
And all the production is the same. But yeah, I mean, we never knew how many people were listening. Mm-hmm. You would always post promos for your shows, and you saw me when I was just posting all this shit, come watch my thing. I'm doing this today. Listen. What I would eventually, morphed into doing what we're doing right now, which is I had a podcast, and then I would do it live on Facebook as I was doing it.
Right.
So, I mean, I was always, promoting that shit, but we knew when we were just streaming on that, online radio. Nobody was listening to it, but it was just good for us because you never know who could be listening to it.
Right? Yeah. And exactly.
That's the whole point of it is that you can get that experience
of
being a professional broadcaster,
and
that was so fun for me. I mean, not only to do that and get the equipment we had was amazing, so credit to the university, but just the material that we had to work with. The fact that I got so lucky when I transferred there, literally that year is when the Cubs made their World Series run, and that kind of just fueled this whole sports movement for me because I started this podcast and I started this video series and it was all sports, and then I bundled all that stuff together and sent it to Around the Horn, which is an ESPN show based out of DC, and I got an internship there, and that really got the ball rolling.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the things that I did back then really propelled me to where I am now. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be here doing this if I didn't transfer schools and start doing that radio stuff. And then because I was doing that radio stuff, I started doing video and TV stuff.
Okay.
And then I was doing that, and then I sent it to ESPN, and they were like, yep, you're coming here to work for us. And I was like, great. And then I worked for ESPN in college for an internship, and then that's why I got hired at ESPN after college.
Damn.
So it's like it's a butterfly effect,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this one thing you did, and then it just grows.
Yeah, exactly.
And now here we are. So, I owe a lot to just being a sports fan.
Yeah.
Because that really helped me, not only with the radio station and like getting into the radio station, but it helped me just be a personable like guy on the air.
Right, exactly.
Because obviously there's like a lot of research that goes into anything, but you have to be well versed in the stuff that you're talking about.
Sure.
And because I was able to focus less on the research side of the sports and really develop my personality and like who I was on the air, things just really took off.
Damn.
So that got me to ESPN as I was working there 2 weeks ago.
Right. Okay. So you got hired into ESPN, but
Yeah.
like that wasn't. Clearly, it's not an easy road, right? Like clearly, you must have beaten out a whole slew of people to get to where you were. Because from my understanding, we talked about this before. You said there's a bullpen or something like that in Connecticut.
In Connecticut,
Yeah.
headquarters, yeah. So
That's where people start, but you didn't start there. Oh yeah, that died. It's not a big deal.
it died.
Yeah.
Alright.
Well, technical difficulties, but whatever. Just let's charge the battery pack. I know. Relax.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. I ain't too worried. Before you answer that question, let me check on this camera real quick.
Cool.
Just to make sure that it's still recording here. Yeah, nice. Cool.
Look good?
Yeah. Maximum file size? Wait, what the heck did it say first? Crap. I don't know what it said, but if it stops recording, that sucks. Whatever.
If you want to stop it and then keep it going.
And we got audio though. It's not
Yeah,
a big
that's
deal.
fair,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Actually, yeah. Let's do that. Let's stop it and then keep it going. Let's see what happens. Stop. And then record again.
Because we can always sync that up.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, so you beat up a bunch of people.
I don't know that it worked directly like that. I don't
Okay.
think there were like a ton of people gunning for the job that I got.
Uh-huh.
Because the timing just worked out really, really well. Granted, so typically in ESPN, and this is not how it works for everybody. Everybody's got a different path, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like entry level ESPN means you're a PA, which is production assistant.
Yeah.
And you start in Bristol,
Mm-hmm.
and you're basically like a highlight cutter. Like you just linearly cut video for
Sure.
SportsCenter or
Right.
like whatever studio show that they have. And you're like
Some basic ass shit right now, right?
it is like having been pretty much one of those people for the last. Yes and no, I was and I wasn't, but like knowing that work,
Yeah.
it is hard work that needs to be done. And it's very tedious and it's long. Like it takes a long time. So like the people that do that and make it through that are troopers for sure.
Sure.
But that's typically where you start in ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
So you start there and then you kind of work your way up. But that's in Bristol because Bristol's where most ESPN employees are.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the big campus and
Right.
everybody works there. So for me, I don't even know how it worked out this way, but it was perfect timing because I was on Twitter one day. I was at my old job,
Yeah.
which was like a social media marketing company in Chicago. There's like a
Okay.
startup that I still cannot really tell you what they do. Like it's one of those like startups where it's like a lot of buzzwords and like
Right.
Facebook this like what I'm like
You
I
talk
don't
to your boss.
know.
Like you talk to your boss. You're like, what do you do here? And they're like, yes.
They're like synergy. We're
Yeah.
all about
Yeah.
synergy. And I'm like I don't.
Yes.
So, but I
you
had to buy into that shit for like a year because I didn't have another job, and this was post internship at ESPN in DC.
Sure.
So I came back to Chicago, and I was still finishing up school, and
Yeah.
I just had this job for the finishing up of school, and then immediately after I graduated, and it was this. I still couldn't tell you what they really did.
We have no fucking
I
idea
knew-
what y'all doing out there. Just
I
keep
know-
employing us.
I know what I did, and I can explain what I did, but I do like the
You don't know what the
as a
company
whole.
did as a
Like, I'm
whole.
what
Like,
is
how did they
your-
make their money?
Yeah, like what is your goal? Whatever. It doesn't. Even
Damn,
matter. This is a
okay.
sidetrack. But anyway, I was there at that job.
It was a pyramid scheme.
It could have been.
Without buying into it, you bought into a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it definitely could have been. But so anyway, I was at that job, and I was always looking for other jobs while I was at that job.
Okay.
Because I had it was one of those offices where it's like you can sit at your desk, but there are all these couches in the back, and it's way more fun to sit back.
Oh, okay.
So I would just go sit on the couches and it's more private back there, and I would just like look for other jobs. I hope nobody from that job ever sees this, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, dude, we're like 2 jobs beyond that now.
We're well removed from that.
Right.
Regardless, so I was looking for jobs, and then I was on Twitter, to like as a break one day.
Sure.
I would, you just. I don't know if you know this, but like in a lot of media jobs, you end up, for both inspiration and also as a result of boredom, you end up just scrolling Twitter a lot.
I don't know that. So like I'm not against social media. I unfortunately just don't partake in it.
Yeah,
which I deleted my Facebook like 6 years ago now.
Yeah,
like I haven't had a Facebook since then. Not even like one of those like, oh, I'm just locked out. Like no, I genuinely just don't have a social media presence except for IG. Which
is fair.
Plug. Follow me on the Chicago W.A.Y.D.H. And follow this guy on.
Anything IG. Oh, like my handle.
What's your handle?
Oh, it's just RJ_Sachdev.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll plug it in.
Mine's not as cool as yours, so you had to let me go first there. And
I should have. You're right.
You're
learning.
You're the finisher.
I'm learning. We'll plug at the end too. It's not a big deal. Anyway, so yeah, dude. I like Ayesha's big on that shit, right? Ayesha said that for a while she was a straight clout chaser. Like she was following and commenting and liking everything she could on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think she said something absurd. Like I have to fact check this, but like I think she said she has 13,000 followers on Twitter or some shit like that.
That's a pretty significant number, right?
I don't know that. I don't like, to me, I see IG followers and the significant people are like 6 figures and up.
Right.
So on Twitter, I guess it's like that's pretty significant because there's less people on Twitter, right? I gotta assume.
I think there's a lot of people on Twitter, but yeah, typically it's less than Instagram. Like if the popular accounts will have like 2, 3, 4 million, which is millions. Like we're talking millions, so
right?
Lot,
exactly.
But,
I gotta get a Twitter account, man. My tweets would be amazing.
Yeah, you should. But it's also like a hellscape, so maybe we can offline about that, like how it might be.
God, you know what? I have random thoughts throughout the day in which I'm like, I need to have a Twitter at this point. And you know what they're always about? Like something like you said you're really good at sports. Like you think about sports and stuff like that. And like I have nothing like that except for music. Mm-hmm. I'm really just good at like
do that.
Like rap music, hip hop, and like just music in general, right? Like I've really delved into it, and I just like that's all I think about. Like
you could I follow people right now who it's just like an endless stream of
just music opinions. That's all it is, you know, like just straight rap thoughts, right? Like
no, there are accounts that's all they do.
But that's all I can think of. But then like with this podcast, and then if I have like a just straight rap Twitter,
it's a lot.
It's a lot to deal with.
One thing at a time is smart.
It's like 2 personalities, you know.
Yeah.
I can barely handle one right now.
Well, I think you're doing a fine job.
Oh, thank you. Wow, you're making me blush. Anyways, okay, so
your show.
Where were we? Okay, so
I was on Twitter at this job, and we went way off tangent there. But, so I was on Twitter at this job, and I saw.
Oh shit! Did I hit the button by mistake? Like, hold on, real quick.
Is that the record button?
Yeah, I accidentally hit the record button on the pen. My bad. Okay, cool. We're good. Go ahead.
I saw that it wasn't even somebody that I followed. It was somebody that I followed liked a tweet from somebody that worked at ESPN. Mm-hmm. And now that I don't work there anymore, it's a guy by the name of Tim Dwyer. Who I saw. He's a director. He's a manager of a digital department at ESPN.
Okay.
And now, since I'm talking about him, he's like a big guy within ESPN Plus, which is the streaming.
Yeah, streaming.
So at the time, he was in the digital department, and he had posted like, "Hey, we got these jobs for SportsCenter on Snapchat," which is exactly what it sounds like. Right. It's the show SportsCenter just made into a Snapchat version. Yeah. And they had a special production process, and I just DM'd him. He's like, "My DMs are open if you're interested." And I was like, "Well, I'm interested. I see that you have these job links here. Like, let me just DM him and ask a question."
Sure.
Which is like always my in with people. I'm always like, let me be interested in something that they want to talk about.
You just straight DMing people left and right?
That's literally how I got this job. I DM'd him, and I was like, "Yo, my name's RJ, blah, blah, blah. Like, I worked at Around the Horn in D.C. Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with, like, the workflow, ESPN workflow. Saw that you posted these jobs.
Right,
I'm looking for a job." Yeah. And he was like, he answered, and asked a question about whatever he did at ESPN. I looked him up a little bit. Right. And he answered, and then I was like, oh, that's really cool. And we went back and forth, and I just kept asking questions. And he was like, you know what? Here's my email. Like, let's talk on there because it's more formal.
Yeah,
like, okay, cool. So we were emailing back and forth a little bit, and then one time he just emailed me, and he was like, you know what? Let's set up a call for next week at whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. Like,
straight up. All right.
I was like,
why not?
To me, I thought it was more of a networking thing because I was like, oh, this guy just wants to talk because he sees I have a lot of questions.
Sure.
And I was just asking him whatever questions and being really interested.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, let's set up a call. So I was like, okay. I think it's a networking thing, but it also could be an interview, but I hadn't like formally applied for the job through the portal yet.
Yeah,
so I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm just going to like play it cool. And we go on the call, and it was like a conversation, but it felt a little bit like an interview, but I still didn't know which one it was more.
Yeah.
And at the very end, he was like, okay, so next I'm going to have you talk to this person and this person in this department. And, you're going to talk to them because they want to hear more about you. And I was like, okay, so this was an interview? Was it a screening? Yeah, in the end, yes, it basically was. So then from there, I talked to somebody else. And at that point, it became clear that, like, oh, this is for the job. Like, this is not just a networking thing.
You're legit applying right now. Yeah.
But it was weird because I never applied for the job. I was just asking a ton of questions. And then he set up a phone call, and then he set up a phone call with somebody else. And then that phone call set up another phone call. And then eventually they were like, oh, hey, can you just go online and, like, fill out the information and just apply to the job so we have you in the system? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, you already did all the interviews. We just need you to, like, be in the system.
Oh, no way.
Wow. I was like, oh, so we just went through this whole process.
This was all, like, informal, but I'm in. Okay.
Yeah, and it was all, like, just through my Gmail, my personal Gmail account. We were just emailing, and then we were setting up these calls, and I was talking to people, and then eventually I applied to the job. And they were like, well, there are 2 jobs available. There's an option of being in Bristol, or there's an option of being in New York. And I heard that, and I was like, New York. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck is Bristol, Connecticut? Like.
Yeah, and I said that in my head because, like, when they asked me in my last interview, I was like, obviously either, because I just wanted a job.
Yeah.
Because I was bored at being at the pyramid scheme company.
Right.
And
pyramid scheme. That's what the fuck we're calling it now. You are officially a pyramid scheme company.
Yeah, and I was like, either. Like, I'll take whatever you have. And they thought I was a good fit. Credit to them. They thought I was a good fit for the team in New York, which ended up being Katie Nolan's show.
Sure. What was it called? The late night with Katie Nolan or something like that?
Always Late with Katie Nolan.
Ah, man, I'm just fucking shut up. Always Late with Katie Nolan.
Yeah.
And you were hired on as a producer for that show.
Yeah, I was like going to be the digital guy.
Sure.
And then after a couple of weeks of working there, they were like, I think you're a good fit with this team, so you're going to be on the production staff.
That's dope.
That's how it happened. But dude, when I was interviewing for that job, I didn't even know I was interviewing for the job.
Right, that's nuts. Like, I wish I had opportunities like that, right? Like,
well, see but that's the thing. I didn't do anything besides DM a guy on Twitter, and then just like, I mean, I guess maybe it took a little bit of sweet talking, right? You have to. And some...
That's all I'm laughing about, bro. It pays to slide into DMs, folks.
No,
100% pays to slide
100%.
into anybody's DMs.
Dude, the worst that can happen, right, is that this person isn't interested in talking to you.
Right, and they just don't respond.
They just don't respond. Or they do respond, and then the conversation goes nowhere, and you're like, okay, well, whatever. I didn't lose any money. Like, what? I didn't lose any money. I barely lost any time. Like, it's nothing.
I wish I had that mindset for sliding into girls' DMs.
Well, that's a different story.
It's just rejection upon rejection.
Yeah, no, that's a different story.
The worst is when they're like, they accept the message and it just says seen.
Yeah.
Like IG.
That's when it hurts.
That's when it really hurts. Like,
and it hurts more than when you were like, cold DMing a random person for a job.
Right, exactly.
Because you can think about it like, oh, maybe they're busy or they filled the job already or whatever. It doesn't matter. But when you get left on red. Then it's like
that hurts.
That's on purpose,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I've DM'd girls. This is so shitty, but okay. So I've DM'd girls who have like thousands and thousands of followers, right? Like, yo, like, what's up? I'm Avi. I'm out here in Chicago. Bullshit like that. Like, I have no game. Yeah. I don't know if you know this. I don't have any game. Period. Right? I don't know what it is about me. Like, I get along with women great, I guess, but like when it comes to romantic stuff, I forget everything. I forget all my speaking techniques, anything. I'm just like, hey.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
I mean, we're cut from the same cloth.
We're a family.
Yeah.
But like, they'll never accept the message. I'm pretty sure they see it, but they never accept the message, right?
Right. So it just sits in that.
It just sits in that. Yeah, exactly. Of like 1,000 DMs per. But then when I get messaged, and it's always a fake fucking message, you know?
Yeah.
Like
It's all bots.
It's all either bots or somebody trying to sell you some shit.
Yep.
Or I've gotten hookers. I genuinely have gotten hookers. Like
actually, if it's like the Instagram DM ones, I think I've gotten those.
Right, like the like those what do you call them? The cam girls is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, big boy, what do you do?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
First of all, I'm not that fucking big. How rude of you to fucking assume.
Or just right off the bat.
These goddamn cameras are making me look big is what it is, all right? Fuck you, all right? But the worst is when they got like 8 different people on one DM.
Yeah, it's a group chat.
Yeah, follow me, big boy. Like, which big boy are you talking to right now?
Now it's like...
I know I'm not special, and now I also know you suck at technology, because we all just got the same message, bitch. Like,
and I didn't want to get that DM in the first place, but now that I see you included other people in it, now I'm offended.
Now I genuinely don't want to give you my money. Like, I was considering it from the beginning, but now I'm like, relax. You message 8 others. You know, forget you.
You clearly have other customers. So.
Dude, lately I've been getting so many Bitcoin people.
Really?
Non-stop Bitcoin. I don't know what it is. I never even liked any posts or something. I don't have any Bitcoin, period. Mm-hmm. I don't even have any of those offshoots, you know? So I just get non-stop, like, cryptocurrency. I just made, like, $3,000 with a $300 investment, bullshit like that. I'm like, scammers, like, left and right. But, okay. So the last thing I really want to touch on, and I've said this multiple times, you really got to explain to my parents, the rest of the family.
Yes.
What does a producer do? What is because like I said before, the whole image of a producer is, oh, he's the money man, you know? Oh, he's got a lot of money.
I never knew that.
I mean, I guess
is that a Bollywood thing?
I don't know. Like, yes and no, I guess, right? Like, I know a long time ago, even in Hollywood, when movies were becoming a thing, like 50s, I want to say, maybe even before that, that is what the producer was. Like, he was the guy putting up the money for the movie. But now, I guess that's what is that called now?
That's just the studio's job.
Okay, so the studios...
Whoever is funding the movie is like the
backer, I guess?
Netflix, right? Will pay for a show or a movie to be produced.
Sure.
But that's,
But so, from my understanding, it was like, oh, dude, this guy, like, we got this actor, right? And he's big in the pictures. They didn't call them movies back then. They called them pictures.
Right.
He's very big in the pictures. And he's got a couple $1 million. Yo, he's sitting on $1 million, and we only need like $200,000 of that to make a full-length movie. Mm-hmm. Let's go ask him. And so that would be his production. He'd be like, okay, here's $200,000. Go do what you need to do. And the director and stagehands would go do everything. Now, that's not the case, is it?
No, I wish it was. That sounds dope. Like, I would definitely
you just throw into it, and just all you have to say is that person was the producer for this entire movie.
Well, okay, so like things like that still do exist, right? Because you can be like LeBron, right? He has a production company, a media company,
right?
And he executive produces like random shows, and movies, and like he has a lot of projects. But he's not like a film or TV producer. He's not like trained in that. But he's a basketball player,
right? But
he's smart, so he has all these other ventures. So in that sense, yeah, it's his money that's being put up for whatever production.
Yeah.
But, and he might have a little bit of editorial say of like, you know, maybe a large picture with like sign off.
Right, exactly. Or he might like put you in contact with the people to help you with that certain shot or something like that.
Not even that, because that's still too like small scale. Like when LeBron is an EP on something, it's only like the big picture stuff that he's signing off on, right? It's mostly that his production company is funding it. So he has to be an executive producer on it.
Okay.
Right? So he gets the credit, but he's not actually producing it. He's not like in the studio producing it.
He's just a name backing.
Yeah, exactly. So there are instances, and that's still a thing, right? That there are instances when people, like big actors, start their production companies.
Yeah.
things like that where you might not even be on set,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still an executive producer because you are the guy who has the production company.
Sure.
Or the, person who, yeah, you have a little bit of input here and there, and maybe you had this grand idea, but like the actual details of what's being produced, that's not part of their job, right? Their job is to just fund it and then like make the big picture decisions.
Right,
like
right,
the sign off on like, hey, we didn't know if we could include this. Like, sure, you can be a producer on that.
I got you. Okay.
But from my definition of what I do right now is more on the ground stuff, right? Like I don't get involved. I'm not a big enough person to get involved in those high level conversations.
Yeah, I get you.
I'm more like, how are we going to make every aspect of this work?
Yeah.
Right. So like for the last 2 years, I've been doing Always Late with Katie Nolan, and there's a lot of different elements in that show, right? So there's, and there are 4 producers on that show, so like it was limited.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. But before you get into that, what's the scope of so you said Always Late with Katie Nolan was on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
What's the scope of that kind of team? Like, this isn't like an 80, 100-man team running this thing.
No. So there's Katie.
Yeah.
There was our executive producer.
Yeah.
Then there were 2 like head producers.
Right.
But one of them left, so then we were just left with 1.
Sure.
There were 2 associate producers, me, and then there were 2 writers.
Okay.
So in all, that's what? So there's me, 2 associate producers, 1 head producer, 2 writers, and then Katie and the executive.
So like 8 people. 8 people max.
Yeah.
Just running this one entire ESPN Plus show.
Yeah. Well, it was ESPN Plus to start, and then we ended up moving to ESPN2. They moved us around a lot because it was a new show, and they didn't know exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
They didn't know what.
Now, is that normal?
Best.
8 people per show?
Yes and... Oh, like at ESPN, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
At actual, like, late-night shows, I don't want to say actual, like, we weren't an actual late-night show, but I'm talking about, like, the network late-night shows.
Right.
Their staffs are, 10 times that.
Oh, okay, okay. So like Kimmel has, like, 50, 60, 70 people working round the clock to make that. Okay.
And we were a weekly show, but, weekly versus daily, that's a different conversation. But it's like there's still a lot of work to be done every single day, regardless of what kind of show you're working on. So, anyway, we had 8 people, and the majority of the production was done by the 4 producers. Head producer, 2 associates, and then me.
Sure.
And because we had so few people, being a producer on that show meant a lot of different things, right? So, on a bigger show where there's more people, you can have like graphics producers and segment producers and digital producers and all these different kinds of producers.
Sure.
And in a bigger scale show like that, those producers are limited to doing like, if you're a digital producer, you're doing digital, right? You're producing content for digital. Yeah. You're taking from the show, and whatever content works best for social media, that's what you're doing. Okay. If you're a graphics producer, you're just working on graphics. Okay. If you're a segment producer, you're just working on segments. Yeah. If you're a talent producer, you're just working on talent, like getting celebrities.
And stuff. All right.
For us, we did everything because there were 4 of us for the entire show. So graphics, segment, talent, like research, everything. Right. So in my sense, and what I've come to know as being a producer for the last 2 years, is just like a jack of all trades sort of person. Sure. Because that's what I had to be, right? I mean, like we had very limited resources and a small amount of people, and you just had to do your job because there was a show to be made. And if you don't make the show, then like the show gets canceled. Sure. Which might happen anyway, as it did. Right. You got to do your job and do your job well. That, I think, is a unique experience to the show that I was working on. I don't think it works like that
in every kind of show or anything else. Like this was like brand new, right? Like yeah. How new is ESPN Plus?
New.
So it's super new. It's like did it happen with the Disney acquisition? Like right when Disney bought out ESPN, that's when they started Plus, or was it before then?
It started in the last 3 years.
Okay.
Like ESPN Plus started when I was working there. No, but right before I started, because I started working there when Always Late with Kate Nolan.
Yeah,
it was already decided. So it was right before I started working there.
Right.
ESPN Plus became a thing. For maybe 3 years now it's been out.
Okay.
It's 2.5, 3 years. It's new. It's very new.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't really relevant to the content we weren't producing specifically for ESPN Plus. We were producing a show that happened to be on ESPN Plus.
Yeah. How many other shows were like yours on ESPN Plus?
None.
Oh, you were the only one.
Yeah, I mean, we were the only late night comedy show at ESPN. Period. Like across all of the networks.
Oh.
Because ESPN doesn't do late night and doesn't really do comedy, right? Like if you ever are watching ESPN and you find something funny, it's because one of the news anchors was being funny.
Yeah,
or
I get you.
There's a funny thing that happened.
Right.
Because they'll be like goofy, funny while doing the news.
Right.
But there was never, I don't want to say never because there was, but like in this timeline, there like, while Always Late with Kate Nolan existed, there was not another like late night show.
Interesting.
In the traditional sense
of
what late night is. So it was really challenging to build it from the ground up.
Right.
One, because like this was my first real TV production job.
Yeah.
And I kind of just was thrown in and like had to learn on the go.
Yeah.
But two, because we didn't really have anybody on our staff who had worked on a late night show before.
You guys were all brand new? Or just like not coming from that?
Not all brand new to production. Like there were a lot of people on our staff who had been working at ESPN for a long time.
Sure.
But working at ESPN is different than working at like a late night show or working on a TV show or working on a movie.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
Right? Like the ESPN workflow is very unique to ESPN.
Right.
And it doesn't really work like that at other places.
Gotcha.
So we had a lot of people who were really good at producing ESPN stuff, but none of us had ever produced a late night show before. So we were trying to do this thing that nobody knew how to do. But all we had was other late night shows to look at and be like, they're doing that, so let's try to do that. But then what we didn't really realize, which we did realize, I realized it.
Yeah.
Those late night shows have teams of people to do what we have one or two people to do.
Okay.
Right? So like it was tough, but it was for me a really great experience to grow as a producer because I had to do so much stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why like whenever people ask me what a producer is, it's hard for me to define it directly because in the sense that I know it, in the sense that I've been doing it in the past 2 years, it's everything. Like you are, going to get props for segments, you are making graphics for segments, you're editing video for segments, you're pitching ideas in a brainstorm, you are, editing the show together in post, you work with sound. For field shoots, we were out in the field shooting, staging, lighting. We did everything.
Right.
And because there were so few producers, I did everything.
Sure.
Which is like not something that somebody my age would typically get to do. Yeah. Because typically, when you're my age and you start to work at ESPN, you go to Bristol and work in, the
bullpen, right?
The bullpen, you work with all the PAs. But I got lucky through that story of Twitter DMs and then, got thrown into this. And I was really fortunate for that to happen. And I learned so much.
Sure.
Was the show the best show ever? No.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever say that about any show that I work on, that it's like, this is the
pinnacle of
standard,
all shows.
Right? But like, I
don't know, man, you get on Fallon, I'll be like, bro, you made it. Stop going anywhere else. Like, you can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
if we're talking about live.
Yeah.
Like if you end up working for like a genuine TV show, like frame by frame kind of deal, that kind of stuff, like, I don't know, but I couldn't think of what would be coming up. Like, I don't know, what's your favorite show of all time?
Ooh, that's tough. My answer changes so much because I watch, like when I watch a new show, and also it changes by genre. Like
I got you. Okay.
I really like Parks and Rec, but I really like Peaky Blinders, and like can't really compare those.
Dude, if I could work on Peaky Blinders, it's just game over. I don't want to go anywhere else after that.
Like 100%.
I hope this runs for 900 seasons.
Yeah.
And eventually, there's just Indian Peaky Blinders everywhere at that point.
There's gonna be. And I hope to work on it, but there's going to be a show that's like that, right? There's going to be, and it doesn't have to be an Indian story, but it's going to be a story that just happens to have Indian people in it.
Oh, dude, I have a storyline that I'm like baking in my mind. We'll talk about that after the fact because that's not like a well known thing.
Yeah.
But like,
and
it's funny that you say that.
There are starting to be more and more like Never Have I Ever.
Right.
Like there's starting to be more, and like Aziz was huge in Parks and Rec. Like that was huge for the culture.
Yeah. And
Master of None.
I love Master of None.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like those are big. I mean, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but yeah, like those shows are starting to come up, but you're gonna see more and more. Like that's gonna keep happening as long as we have anything to say about it.
No, absolutely. I think the South Asian community, because the Asian community is already seeing this, right? Like,
and like they are, but like not still in the way that they should be. Right. Like there's still more. Like we need more. And
right.
That's what my whole goal is. Right. Like keep it moving. We're gonna keep pushing it forward until we are telling the stories that we want to tell, and it doesn't even need to be like Indian stories, and that's what I'm seeing with a lot of these.
No,
like,
it should just be like
it needs to be like stories, and
they just right. Eventually, like all the lines are just blurred, and you're just a human being, right? Yeah. It's not like specifically you're from India, you're from here, you're from this, and this is your specific story.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of people's stories right now. Like I know Mindy Kaling told part of her story in Never Have I Ever, but she also went the other way and like made it part of what a typical Indian high schooler would be going through right now.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean that's what we're getting towards. Like you want to be able to tell your individual story and what your voice is. You want to project that. But there also need to be characters like Aziz in Parks and Rec, where he just happens to be. He could have been a white guy.
Oh, absolutely.
But he just happens to be Indian.
Yeah, exactly.
I love seeing that.
Right.
And, like that was one of the pivotal roles from just as a viewer, right? When I was watching, I was like, oh, this is changing a little bit.
Yeah,
I've never seen something like this before. And granted, there were like smaller roles for Indian people earlier than that, but that was the big one that was like, oh, he's just a normal dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is it's interesting that you say this because like the conception of this podcast was based off the show, not just BoJack Horseman, but also Community. Like if you listen to our introduction podcast of mine and Ayesha's podcast 0, we love Community, and Daniel Pudi is one of the main characters, and I think he's Indian.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Like he got his foot in the door kind of deal. He's in there. So then, okay, let's all tie this back to you in production, not acting, right? Not the general industry, because the general industry we all know there's not too many Asian representation in there, but like the back work, production, writing, all this kind of stuff, just like even camera work. Is there a lot of representation for us, like that we just don't see?
I'm only speaking from what I've seen in my experiences.
Sure.
I was the only Indian person in my office.
Okay.
Granted, there are on-camera people at ESPN that are Indian, right?
Yeah.
And they would come through the office every now and then, and it'd be like a affirmative.
Yeah,
nod.
like, what's up, bro?
Yeah,
what's
like I see you see me, like we're
rub my desi,
Yeah, exactly.
Start dapping off, do a little bhangra,
Yeah. It's an acknowledgement that you made it to a place where people, I guess, typically don't make it.
Sure.
Right? I think that, and like I see more on Twitter than I see in real life, just because obviously Twitter is a wider network than my real life network. So I'm seeing more and more, like I'll find somebody who's Indian who works in TV, film, whatever, and I'm like, cool. Like some of them I don't even know what they work on or what they do.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I see you that you're there, and that's important. Whatever it is you're doing, wherever you are, it's important that you're doing it.
Yeah, I got you.
Because, I mean, it's a lot in our culture that pushes people away from doing something like this just because it's not as stable as other
No, it's not by any means, yeah.
But, there's still a lot of work to be done because, I was the only Indian person at, the ESPN New York office, right? And I mean, there are more than one office. Mm-hmm. There is more than one office in New York for ESPN, but like from our production office, that was the premier production office of ESPN in New York, where all the big shows, right, like First Take, Get Up, High Noon, which was with Pablo Torre and Bomani Jones, Always Late with Kenny Nolan, Jalen and Jacoby. So and they did NBA Countdown from there. These are all like big flagship network shows.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And to be the only Indian person was fine. Like, that, you know, wasn't something that I thought about every single day. But could it have changed the experience for me if there were more Indian people? Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Because, I mean, and it's whether it's on purpose or not, you, like attracts like in that sort of sense, right? Like you,
right.
There's kind of like there's a commonality.
Yeah, you gravitate towards what you're familiar with,
right? And it's not that you're excluding other people. It's just that you have an extra layer of like, not only are we both doing the same thing, but it's not common right now for us to be doing this at all. So there's like a bond in the fact that you're both doing it. So if there were a couple other Indian people there, I think like we probably would have been close friends. And, like it was a relatively not small office, but it was like a medium-sized office.
Sure.
And everybody knew everybody, right? And like to be the only Indian guy, it was a little day to day didn't affect me at all, but I think it could have been a positive influence if there were other people there.
Okay.
So do I see Indians in the industry more than we used to?
Or just Desis in general, right? We don't want to just specifically focus on
Indians.
Not
like, Indians, sorry.
Because like Desis are like, man, I just found this out in the past year. Desis include Bengali people too, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, I shouldn't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't say just
like,
Indians.
Yeah, because like I grew up with the fact of like Desi is like Pakistani, Indian, Bengali mixed together. Yeah. That's like a general populace of brown
right.
Asians, South Asians, I should say, and we're called Desi. But like I didn't know Bengali was part of that until this year, actually.
Yeah, no. Thank you for stopping me there.
That's important. Yeah.
That's definitely important. So I mean, like, it doesn't have to be. I know I've been saying Indian.
It's fine. No. Like, I'm just like I wanted to clarify for myself,
right?
Because like, I again, like, I don't know anybody but you in the industry. Like I've never heard of any other name coming out of the industry for sports entertainment.
Yeah, and there are a handful, right?
Sure.
And
did you get to know anybody else? Like from the Bristol office, just nobody, right?
No, because one, there aren't that many, and two, like we didn't work that closely with anybody in Bristol or any other ESPN office for that matter.
Sure.
So, I mean, I can tell you that nobody that I directly interacted with for the show was brown at all.
Okay, I gotcha.
So, like, I mean, and that mostly was like our staff and the people in our office. But there were occasionally people like graphics people and like directors and camera people in Bristol and in New York that we worked with, and I'm just checking right now to make sure that I'm not forgetting anybody, because that would be a huge omission. But I don't think I ever worked with another.
There'll be that one Desi guy who's like, "Fuck you, RJ!
Yeah, right.
I was right there with you, man. I was right there."
I'm trying to think. I don't think there was another one that I ever worked with directly on the show. Are there other Indians and not Indians? Are there other brown people at ESPN? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
But I never worked with them directly, and they never worked with me directly, so they could go on a podcast and say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're out there.
They're gonna go on and be like, "Yeah, I worked with this one asshole. He didn't remember me on his podcast, so I'm not remembering him on mine." You know.
But we're there.
You're out there.
Slowly growing, but not huge yet.
What's funny is I specifically said in sports entertainment because I don't really pay attention to credits, right? When the movie's over, credits roll, it's like, that's my time to go.
I have more since I started working in production.
So what's funny is Marvel has done a really good job that you got to stay until after the credits, right? Yeah. So you just start scrolling through. Infinity Wars and Endgame just had this slew, like a solid block of nothing but Indian names in there. And one of them was Trivedi. My name is Trivedi. So I was like, maybe I'm related to that motherfucker right there. And it's just a slew of them. I'm like, in film, it's really prevalent. Bollywood is a gigantically huge industry. Mm-hmm. I just don't know anybody in the American sports industry, apart from yourself, that is Indian and doing this. There's not even a sports Indian personality, right? Like, no.
There is.
Who?
Kevin Nagandi. You know who that is?
No.
They're like Adam Amin.
Let's look him up real quick. Let's spell his name.
Zubin Mehenti. There's a few, right?
Kevin what?
N-E and then Gandhi.
N-E Gandhi? Nagandi. There we go. American television host. Kevin Nagandi. Wow. All right. This guy. Yeah. He looks like
He's from Philly. He's a Philly guy. Went to Temple University.
I
He was a
gotcha.
big inspiration for me when I was, starting off my sports.
Is he still doing?
Yeah,
He's still going strong.
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
So, I mean, like, he's an example. The thing is, you can count them on one or two hands.
You ever
right?
met him?
Yeah.
You've met Kevin?
Yeah, because, like, he would come through our
Yo,
office.
bro, what's up, Brown? What's
Like,
up?
he would come through our office to, like, host different shows and, like.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Only as, like, a guest appearance. Like, that wasn't his home office.
Sure.
He was in Bristol. But
Yeah.
occasionally they would do a show out of New York and he would have to be there. So, like, he was cool, really nice. I don't know. I didn't meet any of the other Indian personalities.
Oh, there are others.
There are. But that's the thing. You can count it on one hand, I'm pretty sure. One or two.
That's dope. That's dope. Like, I'm so far removed from sports, ESPN, all that kind of stuff. I would not know. Like, I've never heard of this gentleman, Kevin Nagandi.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to remember that now,
Yeah. No, he's great. I mean, there are a few dudes that, like, have been doing it, too. Since before I even knew I wanted to do it, they've been doing it. And, like...
In sports.
Okay. He's been at ESPN for a while.
Gotcha.
And he's really good. And there's a couple of others. There's a few people that are just growing their presence now.
Sure.
Adam Amin, who is a play-by-play broadcaster, he was just with ESPN. He just switched to Fox Sports, and now he's a play-by-play guy for Fox Sports, becoming very high profile. So, like, there are people that are making strides.
Damn.
Right? But it's like, you need more, right?
Yeah.
Because you need the
people
whose names that you recognize, and then you also need the people who names you don't recognize,
right.
but they're just as important to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
And be
especially when you only have teams of 8 producing an entire show, like creating an entire, like those people are significant to the process.
Right.
You
can't. And in that sense, I think it was okay that I was the only Indian on. No, I keep saying Indian. I was the only brown person on my team.
Sure.
Because out of 8, 1 is like, okay, that's like...
There's our token brown kid.
And because it's such a small... Like, yeah, it did feel like... Well, it felt less like... I'm sorry. It would have felt less like I was the token brown kid if there were more brown people in the office on other shows.
Sure.
But because there weren't,
it
felt like in the entire office I was the token brown kid.
I gotcha.
But
okay.
On just looking at the staff of our show, 8 people, like it's okay that there was one brown guy and it was me. Like,
right.
Because that's a large representation in a room, right? Like we have 8 people sitting in a room and one of them is brown.
Yeah.
Then I'm the voice for those people.
Right. Exactly.
And that's fine because it's 1 out of 8.
Yeah.
When it's 1 out of 200, that's when it's a problem.
Right.
But
exactly.
1 out of 8 is great.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I took pride in that. Mm-hmm. But then you look at the entire office and now you're like, oh, it's 1 out of 60.
Sure.
And then you look at the company as a whole and then you're like, oh, it's 100 out of thousands.
Sure.
Right? And then you start looking at the actual numbers and you're like, okay, there's work to be done.
Yeah.
But on this one show specifically, 1 out of 8.
It worked out. It worked in your favor.
Yeah.
It was good. It's a stride made in a positive direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dope. Okay. So now you're not at ESPN.
I'm not.
Right? You're still in the entertainment industry though.
Yes.
Are we allowed to say what you're moving on to?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I got the paperwork yet. I haven't signed it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to. So.
Dang. Okay. So you got done with Always Late with Kitty Nolan because it just didn't get renewed.
Yeah, I mean, more so
bit.
than that, they told me that our contracts weren't getting renewed.
Sure.
So like, when you tell the staff of the show that their contracts aren't getting renewed,
you pretty much know like you're done there. So like, did COVID have anything to do with it? Or was it just like general viewership?
They never said that publicly, and it's just speculation on my part as to whether it did or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it. I don't know. I'm not going to come out and say that it did have something to do with their decision to, end the show. But I don't think. Like, it didn't make the decision any harder, right?
No, of course, because all the sports stopped.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't news in general to be, joking about at night, right?
So before COVID, we were already struggling a little bit with, like, what were we going to do with this show,
sure.
Right? But then COVID hit, and I think it just helped the process along. So I'm not saying it's, like, a direct result of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say it's not a direct. I mean, it played a role, I'm sure. But
absolutely.
They would never say that.
No. I mean, I can see the main direct result is there's there's no sports. Everything's shut down.
Yeah.
Go home.
And
What
was
do you want
tough.
us to do?
We just had to find ways to be creative and do some interviews with people
Sure.
because that's really all you could do.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes were sitting at home and we were sitting at home, so it's like, cool, let's do an interview.
Yeah.
But you can only live on that stuff for so long.
No, I get you. Okay, so I think by the time this comes out, all your stuff for the new job will be finalized. So I think we can talk about it at this point. So I think you're going on to go ahead. You say it.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be in the apprentice program for the Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Dang! I give you mad props for that, man. I was very happy when you told me that. I'm like, holy crap!
I appreciate that.
That's like a month in the making, right? A month long of interviews and talking to people and going through the whole spiel.
Yeah, 2 months since June.
2 months, Jesus.
Yeah, so it actually may have been exactly 2 months. I don't remember exactly what the day was, but I applied for the job, and then 2 months later, got it.
Dang! So you will be officially working for Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, September 14th is my start date.
That's
I don't
fantastic.
know when this is coming out, but
No, I think it'll come out in the next. I think it'll come out within August.
Okay, yeah.
I just don't think it'll be this coming Friday or anything like that.
So coming up soon.
Right.
We'll be starting there, and then dude, I'm excited. I feel like I got a lot to learn from. I mean, I learned a lot in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I have a lot more to learn, and a lot more I can learn from this show.
Absolutely.
I think this is a completely different thing than I was doing before.
Right.
Same foundation, but different setting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited, and especially not that this really I would be just as excited either way, but the fact that it's an election season.
Yeah.
And that's prime time for late night.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. I'm really excited.
I'm excited for you. That's fantastic. I can't oh wow. I am. Another round of applause. That is fantastic, man.
It.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're hitting 2 hours at this point. But I'm going to keep all this material, and I'm going to post all of this. I don't care what anybody has to say.
Yeah, dude.
But for a first interview, first video podcast, so many technical difficulties. This camera died. This camera stopped recording. I don't know what's going on with my phone right now because I just haven't looked at it. I don't even know if it's recording anymore. But as long as the audio is good.
Yeah, the podcast
podcast in itself will be fine.
Yeah.
You plug yourself, bro. Everybody go follow RJ, man.
Yeah, I mean, on all platforms, it's RJ_Sachdev, SACHDEV.
Yeah.
Sachdev.
Yeah.
Which, just now that we're here and I'm saying it, I always used to say my name like Sachdev.
Yeah.
And I've been saying it Sachdev.
Yeah.
As every time I need to correct myself. Sometimes even. So I'm teaching people how to say it because it's really not that hard. It's the word such and the word they've, and you just put them together.
Right.
So that's what RJ_Sachdev on all socials, Twitter and Instagram mostly.
Sure, I get you.
I don't really do. I mean, Facebook, I'm on there, but I haven't posted anything in years, and I don't really care about Facebook. But yeah, Twitter and Instagram.
Damn.
That's where I'm at.
That's dope. All right, so follow RJ and his journey on the Colbert Show when he's going to be starting up there. If anybody is out there looking for any questions, slide into his DMs. Unfortunately, he is not single, ladies. Do not be sliding in for that sort of thing. You bunch of perverts out there. Don't be sliding in for that either. At the end of the day, he's still my nephew, so I will fuck you up. No, I'm so happy you were on, man. Thank you so much. You have been the catalyst for all this kind of stuff, like this video production, and you're going to show me so much more. But we're going to stop this now here. It's been a really long fucking time. I don't know how long at this point.
It's doing this in
beats?
Measuring it, in bars and
beats. If you
beats.
click on that button right there, it'll tell you, time. And it's an hour and 20 minutes?
That's not bad.
Oh, that's not bad. I thought it was 2 hours and 22.
No, not bad at all.
No, that's not bad at all. Okay, so... folks, remember, always follow us. If you want to know what this podcast is about, please, I really hope this camera's still recording because I'm going to stare right at it. Please follow us on our SoundCloud. It's What Are You Doing Here? SoundCloud. Listen to Podcast Zero if you want to know who we are, what we got going on. Like I said, Ayesha couldn't be here today, but this has been next interview. We'll probably have you back on. We'll definitely have you back on in 6-7 months. Just be like, yo, what's going on with Colbert? And Ayesha will be here to talk to you about all the sports you ever want to talk about.
Straight up.
Or at least football. I think that's her niche.
She probably knows more about football than I do, honestly.
Oh, dude, you should hear the shit she was saying. I was like, who, what, where, how, what team, how many, But yeah, follow us on What Are You Doing Here Pod on Instagram. Follow me at the Chicago Avi. It's pretty simple. Avi is spelled AVI. And I think that's it. I think we're good.
Yeah, bro. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
We appreciate you, RJ. I appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely.
What are you doing here? We're done.